so other people don't know what I mean when I say world. So every area, every metropolitan area has a collection of admissions people at all their local independent schools, and they agree upon due dates for what's called first round. So there's first round application due dates, and then after first round application due dates, there's first round admissions due dates, and then you get the big letter, kind of like the experience you probably went through, maybe in high school, definitely college or university. So that just happened literally last couple of days. So Bay Area Directors of Admissions agree on dates. North Bay, South Bay, East Bay have slightly different dates. Those things go out. So a bunch of families are sitting here with either waitlisted or gotten a bunch of yeses and thinking about what are they going to do next. We're a little bit behind that curve. So for our current families, we'll have some information coming out early this week, which will essentially lay those pieces out in terms of the enrollment process. It's going to take probably another 2 weeks to have the actual enrollment contracts and those things up and going. For other families who aren't our current families, we're going to have a series of sessions like this, a little bit smaller, a little bit more focused on the actual school itself. And then we'll have parent opportunities to do student visits. It's essentially like a play date for the little guy, even for the older kids, essentially come in as a play date. So the admissions process will continue. Every school, except for the schools who have no spaces, they do that. It's called rolling admissions. So that's rolling admissions, so the admission process keeps going. And so, like next week, I'm going to be at another small school in the area meeting with their families and talking to setting up one-to-ones with their families as well as small groups to help them understand and navigate the process. So that stuff's coming. We have your contact email. If you're still really interested in next steps, make sure you talk to folks at the front door. Make sure we have the right email. We'll get that information out to you. I can also tell you verbally, like pretty simply put, it's the same. You summarized what we said earlier about kind of your question as well, the whole day. So it's essentially rolling drop off at 8, end of the day at 6 o'clock. There's a pretty flat tuition which covers the entire piece, which is $30,000. If there's folks who don't have a question about paying that full capacity, there's other mechanisms, financial systems will be available on a limited basis, but that's a need-based thing. And as we work through those components, we're trying to build out and have a balanced class. So we don't want to have 25 girls in class. We also don't want to have a first or third grade that has 26 second graders in it. We want to have a balance of some nature so we can grow appreciatively. And then pretty much everything we do, except for when we go to Taiwan, like local field trips, local outdoor ed, art classes, things of those nature that we do in class, it's all part included. A lot of schools here, some schools believe in nickel and diming where they charge you $5 for this, $5 for that, $30 for that. Some people give you a price, so that's essentially what that is. There will be, again, once we start developing an arts trip to New York City and folks from Beijing are coming and folks from our school are going, that won't be covered in $30,000. But yeah, that's essentially the business side of it. Yes?
A kind of follow-up question on her question. So, I understand for the current family, it's one way of admission. For the new family, you want to maintain some balance on, classroom, age and gender. What about family fitness? Are you going to, have rigorous interview with new family parents?
Where's my dear Jing Jing? So, Jing Jing and I started with alt school 3 years ago. After the first year of alt school Palo Alto, I had, 38% families not come back. There are 2 reasons primarily. Well, 3. One was people who lived in like Daly City or Milpitas and realized, wow, that's a lot for me, and that's way too far. Actually, one family moved to Scott Valley, kept their kid for that next year. And then dad got transferred, who was no longer working in Redwood City, so it just didn't make any sense. So that was the end for some of those. So it's geography was the issue. The second was people, 35 families were accepted and came to the school before I started. So I had nothing to do with that admission process. And a lot of those families come into innovation, like what innovation means to you might be different than you. If you guys came together, I bet innovation means something different to both of you. And so there were people who thought we were going to be something else. Jing Jing and I, second week of school, were literally standing out front, and Jing Jing was expressing some of her concerns. And one of the concerns was like, where aren't there worksheets? My kid's in first grade. She needs to be able to do addition, subtraction. She should be ready for division. What's going on? Why aren't there worksheets? And I say, tell me about what she told you today. Or yesterday, because it was early in the morning. She said, well, yesterday she said, Paul got the class together. He said, we're going to do something as a whole class, that was TK, K in first grade. And what he did is he told us all to get together how many kids we have today. They counted up, they realized they had 27 kids. Then he told us to break ourselves into equal groups. And we were arguing, and what is equal groups, and what does that mean? And we figured it out, and we divided up. And so then when he told what division is, and division is breaking the big thing down into smaller things. And I said, that's